We begin this hour with this really incredible case out of Florida. They're accused of lighting a 15-year-old boy on fire, all because of a fight over a video game and a bicycle. 4 Florida teenagers, who are all also 15, could soon be charged as adults. The victim is a boy named Michael Brewer. You see him there from Deerfield Beach. He remains right now on a ventilator in critical condition. Doctors say he has 2nd and 3rd degree burns over 65% of his body. These 4 boys are accused of dousing him with rubbing alcohol after they confronted him this week at an apartment complex near his home and then flicking a lighter at him. A 5th boy, who's just 13, has also been charged.
Understand why he would do this to Mikey? I mean, he never really looked in for trouble. One minute I saw my brother perfectly fine telling me he was going to go meet his friends, and the next minute getting a phone call knowing that my brother could be scarred for life.
Police say Michael thankfully jumped into a nearby swimming pool, which likely saved his life, but doctors say considering the severity of the burns he has, his condition could either get better or get worse. The next few weeks will be critical. Take a listen.
I explained to the family that the expectation is that there will be good days and bad days, probably more bad days than good, and we expect to go through a number of organ system failures and infections, and these things just are not preventable despite everything you do. The body was just not intended to be set on fire.
Now, 4 of these teenagers have been charged with aggravated battery, and the one 15-year-old who is accused of actually flicking that lighter is facing 2nd-degree attempted murder charges. Should these kids be tried as adults? Let's bring in our legal panel, Josh Hanshaft, who is a prosecutor, Nicole DeBoard, criminal defense attorney. Josh, first to you, your thoughts. Should they? It's a pretty heinous crime.
Yeah, absolutely, Jane. I mean, that's why legislators across the country have put cases like this or statutes like this on the books, because you have 15-year-olds. These are not 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. These are 15-year-old kids. Aside from the one 13-year-old, the 15-year-old knew exactly what they were doing. I think each case has to be looked at closely. Let's look at this case. This case is about bringing rubbing alcohol to this young kid, dousing him and setting him on fire. I mean, I can't think of a better example of when as a 15-year-old sitting at home going, I didn't know that was going to harm the kid or put him near death. Now he's near death, or he's in very serious condition. This is the exact type of laws we're trying to prevent children from doing this kind of behavior. And we may call them children. They're a couple months away from driving. I mean, they're responsible adults, and crimes as heinous as this, that's why it's on the books and say now they should be treated as criminals.
Nicole, one of the elements in this case that is even more shocking is the sergeant investigating it told reporters, I'm going to be honest with you, a bunch of these kids were laughing about it after it happened. There doesn't seem to be this sense of remorse.
No, I mean, disgusting and horrific doesn't even begin to explain the nature of this particular crime. But the fact is that a defense attorney will have to represent each one of these people, and it's very likely that these people will all be certified, with the exception of the 13-year-old, to be tried as an adult. So the defense attorneys are going to have their work cut out for them. They're going to have to go into a mitigation mode, and they're probably going to be pointing the finger at each of the other involved individuals. They're going to be looking into the background of these boys to find out what in the world would allow them to be involved in a circumstance as aberrant as this, trying to find out whether or not these kids were abused themselves. They've got a lot of work cut out for them.
Nicole, one of the lawyers, one of the suspects said that the boys didn't fully understand the gravity of what happened. They were confused and they were scared, saying you had cameras, reporters, a judge telling you what you're charged with. How do you make the case that maybe these kids don't understand what they did?
Well, and that's a big question. These kids are going to all have to be evaluated by a qualified medical person, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, to determine what in the world is going on in their mind to allow them to make a decision like the one that was made.
Josh, in some of these cases, in a couple of the cases anyway, the lawyers are trying to already make the point that their clients just stood around and watched. They weren't the ones that flicked the lighter. They weren't the ones that threw the alcohol. Do they have a different set of circumstances and better chances here?
See, I think, Jane, like every single case, you have to evaluate its fact-specific. And here there's something called acting in concert, was you have to find the mindset that all these kids act together to go cause this crime. In this case, again, you're going to have to take the witnesses, what happened at the time, and to find out who knew what was going to happen. Somebody who brings a lighter, turns on that lighter, there isn't much question of what was in his mind at the time. The people who were there, somebody provided the alcohol, someone poured the alcohol, someone cornered him. There's different facts, and you have to really get fact specific, because some of these kids may not be appropriate in a Supreme Court or in a higher level court. Maybe it should go to family court. But until you figure out the exact facts of what happened here, you can't really fully evaluate it.
We'll continue to watch it. Josh Hanshaft and Nicole DeBoer.
And now to a shocking story out of Florida. A 15-year-old boy in the fight for his life after police say a group of teenagers intentionally set him on fire. We're going to talk with that boy's mom in just a moment. But first, NBC's Carrie Sanders has the details.
15-year-old Michael Brewer, barely alive, say paramedics, was flown to the hospital, burns over 80% of his body. Investigators say the Florida teenager was targeted by 5 classmates who allegedly doused him with rubbing alcohol and then lit him on fire.
One minute I saw my brother perfectly fine telling me he was going to go meet his friends. And the next minute getting a phone call knowing that my brother could be scarred for life.
Okay, thank you. 21 days. The suspects, one as young as 13 years old, the others 15, face various charges, including attempted murder and aggravated battery. Detectives believe Brewer was attacked after he called police saying one of the suspects tried to steal his father's bike. The teens allegedly retaliated, calling Brewer a snitch, and then set him on fire.
It's just horrible that these kids would do this to our victim. And the victim's going to carry lifelong scars, if he survives. It's just a horrible, horrible case.
All 5 suspects are now in juvenile detention. It will be up to the state attorney's office to determine if they will face charges in adult court. That's not uncommon in Florida. In this county, a 7-year-old was once charged as an adult. Attorney Valerie Small-Williams represented that child and now represents one of the suspects in this case.
I was a Broward County school teacher, so this hits home as a parent, as a teacher, and just a member of this community. This case is a tragedy.
You're going to plea what?
Not guilty.
Michael Brewer, described by his mother as outgoing, friendly, and fun-loving, is now fighting for his life. For today, Carrie Sanders, NBC News, Fort Lauderdale.
Michael Brewer's mother, Valerie, is with us, along with his doctor, Nicholas Nemias. They are at Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Valerie, if I could start with you, how is your son Michael doing this morning?
I'm sure he's doing fine. I haven't had an opportunity to see him yet this morning, but I know he's in very good hands, and they're taking very good care of my son.
Is he able to speak with you at all?
Not so much speak. He's intubated, but he does every once in a while sit up in bed and point to the tubes in his throat and mouths to me, take them out. He just makes motions with his hands that he wants a drink of water. He's very strong, and I know he's going to pull through this. It's going to be a long struggle, but he's going to make it through this.
How are you dealing with all of this as a mom? This has to be a nightmare for you.
It's a complete nightmare. However, I do have a wonderful support system, my family and my friends, and the prayers from everybody around the world. The support system here at the hospital, they make sure that I eat, and that if I need to take a nap, they make me take a nap, because I won't leave his bedside unless they make me leave.
Dr. Nemias, how would you describe Michael's condition at this point, and what is he up against in the next few days?
He's in the condition you'd expect somebody with such a large burn to be in, and that is, things could be going a whole lot worse than they are. Yesterday, I was quoted as saying he wasn't out of the woods yet, but they missed the part about where I honestly don't think we're in the woods yet. We still have to get in the woods before we get to come out the other side. It's a really long process.
So things could get worse, is what you're suggesting, as in infection possibly, or organ failure?
All of those things, exactly.
Let me ask you, Valerie, the boys that are accused of doing this to your son, from what we understand, they are classmates of his. I find probably the most upsetting thing about this, the fact that they are his age. One is even younger, just 13. Do you know these boys? And what would you like to say to them or about them?
I do know them, but I really don't want to discuss it. It's too heart-wrenching. I can't even think about it. But what I would like to say is that this violence has got to stop.